You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast, episode number 186.
Bob and Doug return in defense of Zak Bagans' Ghost Adventure crew and Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference.
Yeah. So here we are again. Welcome back to CreepGeeks Podcast. If you're your very first time tuning in, glad to have you here. And if this is your, anyway, welcome. Welcome, one and all. We have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, there's some things that have happened here recently that we'd like to mention, as in Bob and Doug has returned. If you don't know who they are, they're astronauts. I thought you were going to jump in here with something.
No.
Well, anyway, they're back.
And it's good.
Yeah, because now we can get back into space from American soil and return to American soil. It's more of an American kind of effort there, I guess. And that's nice. So we got NASA on board with SpaceX, and they went up and they have, I guess, successfully passed the second half of their demo. To demonstrate that they could put somebody in space and retrieve them. That's SpaceX, by the way. And Bob and Doug have successfully made it back.
Yes.
And we watched it. And the only gripe we have about the whole thing is that the camera angles used while showing us this historic event were garbage.
I mean, I got really upset. I kind of wanted to see them come directly out, not the weird side angle that happened for both of them.
Yeah.
It was like they intentionally did it right at the same time for both astronauts.
Yeah, it's like their timing was off, or whoever decided to switch the camera to. It seemed like it was just off or lagging a little bit, and for me, that was a little off-putting.
Yeah.
But I'm glad they're back. It's a new dawn. New space age, new dawn. So we have a commercial endeavor now to allow people to get up into space. So if they pass this and NASA gives a go-ahead, then we'll see a lot more space flights soon.
Which is cool. I'm looking forward to that.
Be nice. Get back in space again. Get back in the race for space. In your face. All right. Okay, so let's talk about something that happened here recently. I seen this earlier and was like, okay, this is a rabbit hole thing. And it turned into a rabbit hole thing. It's a little bit of a paranormal...
beef.
Yeah. Little paranormal beef. And as you may have heard us just say, in defense of Zak Bagans and the Ghost Adventures crew. And I'm sure some people are like, what?
Yeah.
How could you? And we're going to lay it out there for you. Okay, so recently there's been some beef between Zak Bagans and Tony Spira.
Okay.
All right. So Tony Spira and Zak Bagans have a little bit of a history. So let's kind of give you some details. So on July 31st, Zak Bagans posted a Twitter and a Facebook post in response to Tony Spira, right? Mm-hmm. And Annabelle the Doll from the Warrens. So you had Ed and Lorraine Warren, right? Our American premier psychic / paranormal investigators for over 52 years. They went out there and they did this sort of thing, and they became really popular. Right? Had a lot of, so they were the deal.
Yeah.
Well, in that mix is Tony Spira. Tony Spira is their son-in-law. Okay? So now we're talking about Tony Spira, the Warrens, Annabelle the Doll, Zak Bagans, and Ghost Adventures crew. So here's really what the beef goes down to. According to Zak in his recent post, he's tired of Tony, as in Tony Spira, being nasty. So what's causing this discord? So Tony, according to Zak, is unhappy with his portrayal of events from the Ghost Adventures crew of an earlier episode with Annabelle, an allegedly demonically possessed doll.
And Tony has, according to Zak Bagans, has been nasty to Zak and the Ghost Adventures crew
Right.
This appears to be in response to an episode of The Screaming Room, a show where the Ghost Adventure crew gives commentary and insights to earlier investigations. Annabelle the Doll was used in an investigation, and it appears Tony Spira is unhappy with Zak Bagans and the crew. Zak Bagans made a Twitter post and Facebook post that details a different viewpoint from what's out there. Yeah.
And this is kind of one of those things where we're going to explain about Annabelle and all this, but from what we've seen, Zak Bagans doesn't normally engage in this sort of social media thing. So it's kind of a rarity. So when it sort of popped up, it was kind of like, ooh, what's going on here? Yeah. Right. So Annabelle the Doll.
For the most part, everybody should know who Annabelle the Doll is. But for those who don't, according to Tony Spira's website and Nesper's website, Annabelle's story is this. A student nurse is given a Raggedy Ann doll as a gift, and she brings it home where she lives with her roommate, and almost immediately the roommate notices strange occurrences with the doll, and they were introduced to a medium who told the two roommates the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle. The roommates tried to accept the doll's spirit and please it, only to have it reciprocate with like maliciousness and violent intent. And that's where Ed and Lorraine, they were called in and they pronounced the doll demonically possessed. They removed the doll from the house and encased it in a glass box to contain the evil spirited entity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is kind of one of those popular dolls because there's a couple haunted dolls out there. You have Annabelle the Doll, which is evidently the most famous of the haunted dolls. You have Robert the Doll, which is another creepy, weird doll. So this is kind of a thing. These are like, paranormal heirlooms, if you will. This is what everybody knows. But recently there's been some... a little bit of paranormal shame associated with this whole doll thing, and it's something that we need to talk about because it sort of starts to tie in the beef that we're trying to lay out to you guys. Right? So at a paranormal convention, there was a group that was busted, and this is at Penhurst Asylum, where you have people there, Johnny Zaffis, Katrina Weidman, and Tony Spira, right? Johnny Zaffis is, I believe, the nephew of the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Katrina Weidman is a paranormal investigator. She was on Ghost Hunters, and she's on the show with Jack Osborne. I can't think of what it is. But anyway, she's famous in the field, and Tony Spira is the current owner and son-in-law to the Warrens, but he's the current owner of Annabelle the Doll. Now, what the deal is that this paranormal research group, and I'm not going to say who they are, they came under fire from media and paranormal superstars who basically have gone to speak out about this, is basically describing that these people tried to con the entire paranormal convention, right? and
Yeah.
they're trying to con the entire paranormal convention that they have Annabelle the Doll.
Oh, this was what was happening last year when
Right.
the doll hit in the news.
Yeah, this was like July 23rd, 2019.
Yeah.
So they're at the convention. They say they have the doll. And to be clear, it's unclear if anybody at the actual convention themselves, as in promoters, knew if that team was bringing in a fake doll or not, or if the team acted alone. Whatever the case, there were some people there that these guys didn't or weren't expecting to be there. I think these guys are paranormal dum-dums, because how can you not know that you got Johnny Zaffis, Katrina Weidman, and Tony Spira there?
I believe, because Katrina has a relationship with the Warrens through Paranormal State.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can you not do your homework and know that the people who have basically intimate knowledge of this doll and the Warrens would be there? Okay.
Yeah.
So
According
here's
to Katrina, unfortunately, there was a group who was claiming to have the real Annabelle doll from Ed and Lorraine. They had a Raggedy Ann doll in a wooden case and everything. Johnny walked over to them, being a Warren family member, and
that's
asked,
Johnny Zaffis.
yeah, asked how did they get the doll? And lying to him, they claimed to be his cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently what these guys brought was a fake Annabelle doll to the Paracon, and they were telling people that it was the real doll. And the real problem is that Johnny Zaffis knew the doll was elsewhere and that it was not at the asylum at this convention or conference or whatever you want to call it, right? So apparently Katrina Weidman had witnessed or spoken with someone who witnessed the group telling folks this, that it was a real doll. And basically they were bold and foolish enough to make these claims. They went around telling folks that they were cousins to Johnny Zaffis. They even told him that. They told Johnny that they were his cousin.
Okay.
Because they obviously didn't know who he was. So they didn't really know what was going on. So at first there was some speculation that the whole thing was just some kind of misunderstanding, but come on, there's no misunderstanding here, right?
Yeah.
So some of these paranormal superstars started posting out. They're like, hey, this is the kind of basically junk that we're fighting against, constantly fighting against. She talks about the group that was there. They claim to have the real doll from Ed and Lorraine Warren. They had a wooden case and everything. They talked to Johnny. And it basically shows a lack of understanding of why we do what we do. In other words, hey, look, we have a hard enough time with this whole paranormal thing. And the Warrens, they're paranormal, they're pioneers in the field. Whether you like their work or not, they open doors and enthusiasts. And there's been movies made based off some of their work, like Amityville Horror,
the Conjuring stuff, and
Annabelle
comes home.
Yeah. So this whole thing was just like, it's not a mix-up. These people were obviously trying to bamboozle everybody there. Now, why did they do it? I don't know. It never really says if they set up to try to make money, but from what we remember of the event, they went around telling people, and they went and talked to one particular group and tried to get that doll as part of their own traveling museum. I might be wrong. My memory may fail me, and if I am wrong, and if for some reason the Traveling Paranormal Museum haunted, I can't remember the name of it. I can never remember the name of that. But anyway, if the new Kirks are listening and I'm wrong, correct me, please.
Yeah, but that was like something that we had heard. Yeah.
How they tried to show up and go, hey, you should put this in your museum or whatever, and it just became a little bit of a thing.
Yeah.
So Johnny Zaffis says, hey, just my feelings, I think it was totally inappropriate for any paranormal group to show up at a convention and totally recreate the case and claim you now have Annabelle the doll from Ed and Lorraine Warren's collection. And when I ask you why you're doing this, you say, hey, I'm one of Zaffis' cousins. It was really nice to meet you. And this guy says, do your damn homework. You lost all credibility with a whole lot of us in the field that were there this weekend. Now, here's what gets interesting, and we'll tie this in later. So Tony Spira writes, the fake Annabelle was housed in an exact replica of the Annabelle case. And he says, folks, these people are a bunch of con artists and liars. John Zaffis happened to be there at the Paracon and confronted the group. One of the members had the audacity to say that he was one of John's cousins, and as he said that to John. And he says, folks, the real Annabelle doll is safely housed in our occult museum. It's protected by high-security devices and systems. And if the doll ever goes on display, the only person taking it to a location would be yours truly. It's amazing by what some less than honest people would do for money. It is true that I hold special Evening with Annabelle events at a local banquet facility. I do these events about 4 times a year. The location is approximately 1/8 of a mile from the museum. It's kept in a protective case. A case built by Dan Riviera, one of my lead investigators. And Dan's well-versed in protective measures. The case is made from wood and glass, but the stain used on the wood is infused with blessed holy water and holy oil. There are blessed crosses on the case and cut into the case, totaling 3 for the Holy Trinity. The Lord's Prayer is written with blessed ink, which is behind the doll, and there are blessed placards of St. Michael the Archangel attached to either side of the case. The case itself is padlocked, and before transporting it to the banquet facility, we have the case and ourselves blessed by a Catholic priest.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, because this thing is supposed to be super haunted, possibly demonically possessed.
Yeah.
And just in case you were wondering what a evening with Annabelle would cost, the only thing we've been able to find is that the average cost of an evening with Annabelle when it happens is $169, right?
Oh.
There's some swag you can buy, and it has been said that you could possibly take a tour of the museum for about $75.
So $169 plus $75.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, that was a while ago. Things may have changed. I found that reference, I think, back in 2018, maybe a little bit earlier. It was around the same time when the Conjuring movies was coming out. So.
And a decent meal at an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, banquet hall. Yeah. Like a pasta dinner.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, there you go. So that's what they've kind of put out there. And this was the paranormal shame, that this group would show up to another group, which happens to have the people that actually own the real authentic item that they're looking at, and try to pass themselves off as something that they're not. So it's kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so $75 for a private tour, $169 to spend an evening with Annabelle.
Okay.
Oh, and one of the things that Tony Spears said when I found that information about the pricing was that, we no longer charge for investigations. And the reason why I bring that up is because TonySpira.com takes you to the Nesper website.
Yeah.
And Nesper is, what does it stand for again? New England Society for Psychic Research.
Yeah.
Which was actually started by the Warrens, early, like in the 60s or something.
They have like a timeline. If you go to TonySpira.com, go to About, it shows the whole
Which used to be
timeline.
the Warrens.net.
Yeah.
Anyway, it turned into Spira.com.
And then it shows that, I guess they formed Nesper.
1952.
Yeah, 1952.
Yeah.
And then, Annabelle happened in 1968.
Yeah.
So they were already doing this for over a decade when Annabelle came into their lives.
Yeah, I mean, because they've done some things, right? You have Annabelle the Doll, which became a Conjuring movie later on. You had the Perron family when they talk about their little house, and the movie The Conjuring, the first movie in 2013, was based off of their investigative research.
In 1971.
Amityville Horror, which when I was a little kid, it came in 74.
Yeah.
That scared the crap out of me because it was, and there's been other cases. So this is, they investigated over 100 cases, and this is some of the things that brought them their notoriety.
Yeah, but as far as Tony Spira, he married the Warrens' daughter, so he's their son-in-law.
Yeah, he married Judy.
Yeah, he worked with the Warrens for 30 years, and then he runs Nesper currently, which is, like Greg said, New England Society for Psychic Research, founded in 52.
Yeah.
Now, as far as that's concerned, since they passed away, he is basically the Warrens' legacy, or he is at least Nesper's legacy.
Yeah, you would think it was Zaphis, but evidently not.
So, no.
So here's the beef.
Yeah.
Okay. So July 31st, Zak Bagans posted on Twitter and Facebook in response to Tony Spira and Annabelle the Doll, which came from the Warrens. He's tired of Tony being nasty, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about that a little bit before. And according to Zak, Tony, according to Zak, is unhappy with his portrayal of events that happened from one of the Ghost Adventures, episodes earlier with Annabelle. I believe it was a Halloween special in 2017 about how that doll was treated. Disrespectful, that kind of thing. So I think really what it boiled down to was Zak touched the doll.
Okay.
And Tony had explicit instructions about not touching the doll and all that. And I guess evidently stormed out. And it became a thing. Well, recently, hold on. So what did Tony say? It's like according to...
I'm struggling to get the link to load. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So Tony, according to Zak, is unhappy with his portrayal of events from the show. Right? And Tony, according to Zak Bagans, has been nasty to Zak and the Ghost Adventures crew pretty much from the beginning. And this appears to have been response to the Screaming Room episode, where this is where the Ghost Adventures guys all get together. They pick one of their favorite episodes and they do behind the scenes and kind of talk about what happened during it and some of their most favorite moments of that particular episode or that investigation. Right.
Yeah.
So they kind of went and brought that episode up again and talked about it. And that fired up Tony. And Tony posted some stuff.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Nesper director Tony Spira's response to last night's Ghost Adventure episode. I want to give you my take on the Ghost Adventures.
Well, before you do that, you have to do Zak's take. Okay. And here's the problem with these. They're both long, right? Yeah. So what Zak said in his tweet.
Or his Facebook post.
Well, it started out as a tweet, and then you had to go to his Facebook post to read the entire thing. Because you know how Twitter says you only need 250-something characters, and it was supposed to automatically... Anyway, evidently Zak doesn't know that.
And apparently it also only wants me to have the last 4 hours of tweets, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, here's what Zak says, right? I got to take a deep breath. So, I'm fed up with the nasty things this man is saying about myself, my entire crew, and our show. Just an FYI, I don't get into social media conflicts often, but I'm not a fan of Tony Spira, Annabelle's current owner. And he doesn't say Warren's nephew or son-in-law or anything like that. He said very nasty things about me and my crew after our original episode for no reason and continues to do so after last night's Screaming Room. If his claims of Annabelle being purely evil/demonic and had the power to cause a guy's fatal motorcycle accident, just for talking to her from outside a protective case, then why would you even take her out of the protective sealed case that Ed and Lorraine Warren put a sign on that says, "Warning, positively do not open," and then cram her into a small plastic briefcase and use oven mitts to carry her around my museum and put her in a high chair and let us investigate her? Oh, wait. for a large amount of money that he was quick to collect after he stormed off the set. So wonder how Ed and Lorraine would feel about how you took Annabelle out of a case they said to never take her out of for a big check. Stop being a hypocrite, Tony. Tony questions and slams our knowledge of the paranormal, but he thinks his doll's demon will behave because he's wearing oven mitts to hold her, and if we're safe, only if we don't touch her, but we can be inches away from her investigating it. So, okay, right. He says, I was clearly being affected by something during our investigation with Annabelle, and we documented incredible evidence with Tony watching live, but Tony never cared about any of that or understood that I was being affected. Before Tony took Annabelle out of his briefcase, I wasn't feeling well, so I asked Tony if this could be caused by Annabelle. And he said I was being affected by Annabelle, and that's a warning. Annabelle doesn't want us to show her. That's a forerunner. And then when I did subconsciously touch her foot, I explained to Tony I don't recall doing it, which I didn't. And I even apologized. And we even captured grab foot on our live EVP device, which was pretty compelling. Remember, he told me Annabelle was affecting me, so why wouldn't he understand that and offer me concern or help in that situation? So as the keeper of that doll, he shouldn't have attacked me, but should have been more sympathetic to the situation, even offered to help cleanse me with his holy water. Now remember that Tony told me I was being affected by the forerunner, Annabelle's power, before the investigation even began, but he did nothing. He didn't use his holy water to help, nothing. And all his hate, negative posts, really fueled by me subconsciously touching the doll's foot. Did I damage the doll? No. Does Tony care about my well-being? Hell no. This was just something he could use to get his money and get back home, which he did in a hurry. He just asked for his check, and here's the best part. He took off his rosary as soon as he was handed this big check and left it in my museum. Why would he do that? If Annabelle had just his power to affect me before even taking it out of the briefcase, wouldn't Tony want to stay protected as well to his demon-possessed doll that he was using his oven mitts to carry? Maybe he has to deal with the devil I don't know about. Tony wrote, I brought the doll to his museum in good faith.
Yeah.
Really, Tony? We didn't pay you thousands for this as you demanded? Laughable. Sounds like a quick money grab. Get in, get out. You didn't like us before you even arrived, and this was obvious with how nasty your attitude was to all of us on and off camera. Not a nice guy at all. Tony said the young man who died on a motorcycle challenged Annabelle to do its worst, and here's what Tony quoted the man as saying was the worst. If that doll can do anything, do it to me right now. Hey, Tony, as you agreed to let us do this investigation, not in good faith, as you wrongly stated, but for thousands, wouldn't you assume that our investigation we'd also be telling Annabelle to do something for evidence? Wouldn't that put us at fatal risk? But was the check you collected more important? Tony also demanded first-class air tickets for only he and Annabelle, and I'm sure Annabelle would have been extra demonic if she had to fly coach. He demanded a first-class air ticket for a demon. LMAO, right? And you want to disrespect my entire Ghost Adventures crew by saying Ed had more knowledge on his pinky than my whole crew does. You were a hater of me and my crew before you even arrived that day at my museum, and everyone stated how bad your condescending attitude was from the moment you arrived. It's not all about the money for us. So says the man who owns the money-making Hollywood doll, right? Money-making Hollywood doll, who demanded first-class airfare and thousands of dollars. And he's like, this is our life.
Yeah. And that was Zak's statement as of 3:06 p.m. on Friday, July 31st.
Yeah. So
earlier, Tony Spears, or the official statement from Nesper, which was at same day at 1:23 p.m. So he posted first.
And you can find us on Facebook.
Yeah. So he posted originally, and so what we read was Zak's reply. Nesper's director Tony Spira's response to last night's Ghost Adventure episode. I want to give you guys my take on the Ghost Adventures episode that aired last night, July 30th, with a look back at the Annabelle episode. Remember one thing, Zak and his crew are doing the show Ghost Adventures for money. They need to seek out high ratings to continue to keep the show on the air. They may have started out years ago with good intentions, but now, sadly, they are just performers acting out their parts. I brought the doll to his museum in good faith, and with the very specific understanding that the doll would never be touched by anyone other than yours truly, and that the doll would never leave my sight. That's why I even demanded a first-class plane ticket for Annabelle, who sat next to me in her case on the flight. The one thing Zak left out of his little diatribe about how the young man on the motorcycle didn't even touch the doll, so why isn't Tony concerned that I am so close? Well, first, I was concerned that he was getting too close. Second, the young man was on the motorcycle, challenged Annabelle to do its worst. He said, if that doll can do anything to me, do it to me right now. That was a challenge to the demonic. And the evil within that doll doesn't have to listen to a human. If it can do its worst at any time, an hour, a week, a year later, and it did. Zak has no idea what he is doing, not in the paranormal sense anyway. My mistake was believing the producers when they promised me that they would show ultimate respect for the doll's evil nature and would be professional in every way. It was a mistake to bring the doll, I will own that. That's why when the following year they asked me to bring the doll to Zak's museum yet again, I declined. I will never bring the doll to another TV show. The producers and cast of these shows really do not know the dangers associated with Annabelle. I do. Our team at Nesper are the real professionals. We use the ultimate knowledge and power to fight evil. And that knowledge and power comes from God, our almighty creator. And the teachings and mentorings of the most knowledgeable humans on earth with respect to the supernatural and preternatural, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Ed had more knowledge with the paranormal in his pinky finger than Zak and his entire crew has. I am not angry with Zak, but I am concerned for him by challenging and treating the preternatural realm as sort of a game, a way to make ratings. It's a dangerous thing indeed. Kind of like Russian roulette. Why take that chance? Signed, Tony Spira.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so let's take a look at why we're actually defending Zak Bagans and the Ghost Adventures crew. There's kind of a couple schools of thought with this. But you kind of got to look at Ghost Adventures kind of a history here, right? So if you look at Zak Bagans, he's a film school graduate. He's made a Ghost Adventures documentary. It showed up on the Sci-Fi Channel in 2007.
Yeah.
And then they did the Ghost Adventures a show, which went on from 2008 to the present. And he's had other shows from then on. He's directed things. He's done this stuff. They all have a little bit of a pedigree to them, right? So if you look at the Ghost Adventures crew as what makes them the Ghost Adventures crew. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to say something. It basically kind of goes like this. These guys really started out filming their own stuff, doing their own stuff, and have never really said, anything other to the fact that they go out and they document what they see.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about the Ghost Adventures crew, they go out, they have enthusiasm, they're over the top with all this stuff, and some people don't like that because the two schools of thought that I've seen have been either you like stuff like Ghost Adventures where they're crazy, energetic, maybe a little bit made for TV kind of stuff, or you like someone like Ghost Hunters, methodic. They set up, they do their investigations, they debunk everything, then they bring the results. So one appears to be way more authentic than the other, right?
Yeah.
And so people either love Ghost Adventures or hate Ghost Adventures. It kind of depends on which is your favorite show. Now, I would like to point out that out of the popularity of Ghost Adventures being a show that still is on TV, you can binge watch all the Ghost Adventure shows on Travel Channel like Thursday. It's like Ghost Adventures all day Thursday.
Yeah.
That they maybe have brought more eyes to this field than any other show out there because even Ghost Hunters went off the air.
Yeah.
Not these guys. They're still there. So at the time when you had Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International, all those shows, and Ghost Adventures, they were two completely different types of shows, right? Only one really survived. One just recently came back, but they've survived the entire time. And from the Ghost Adventures style shows have come all these other shows.
Yeah. Which is funny because in the beginning, everybody thought it would be Ghost Hunters. And there were all these spin-off or similar type shows.
Right.
Like Ghost Lab and stuff like that. And Ghost Hunters International, of course. And all of them had the same theme. But it didn't capture and grab the audience to come back every week.
Right.
Ghost Adventures had.
Now, I like both types of shows because I like the scientific, let's just do quotes, more authentic style ghost hunting shows where they're trying to do their due diligence and be all scientific and stuff, which can be kind of boring.
Yeah.
But I also like the Ghost Adventure show because they're out there doing their own thing and they're running around acting all crazy and stuff. And they always say the same thing. People are like, well, I don't like them because they provoke spirits to get a response. But it seems like they get responses.
Yeah. And they always get killer locations.
Yeah.
I'm like mad jealous just on the locations.
So they've done their due diligence. They've been doing this since like 2008. They've done a ton of episodes. They've gone all these places, investigated. So whether you like them or not, they have earned the ability to do what they do and say what they say. So can you say they're authentic? I think that over the years they've actually grown and probably become more serious investigators. And that they kind of want to be taken more seriously and that people won't take them seriously. They think, oh, it's just a TV show. That's it.
Yeah. And I mean, can I add, the whole, we poke fun at Ghost Adventures. We really do sometimes. And it's for a lot of different things, but mostly it's because of their reactions,
Yeah.
And we're not poking fun at, one thing we're not poking fun at is basically their persistence in providing exposure to the phenomenon. Reactions, running around, yeah, that's funny, but the consistency and relevance that they have actually brought to the paranormal community, you can't dispute that. You do have to respect that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the longest running shows. So in no way am I like discrediting that at all. I mean,
yeah. You can't hate the player. Because there's also people out there that think you are not authentic if you make any money at all doing this.
And that's the other thing. They are self-made. They didn't start out with that that paranormal legacy.
No, they're all filmmakers, producers. They started out, they made their own documentary and they did the due diligence. They shopped it around and it showed up on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
And then they got picked up. They basically negotiated their deal and they've been on cable television ever since.
Good on them.
And they've produced other things. And by they, I mean, it's a combination of Aaron and, because Aaron did cameraman duties on other shows. Zak Bagans is a producer. He graduated from film school. He made his documentary. He's made a couple different documentaries that are out there. And then you've got, what's his name? Bill Tully or Tully. I mean,
yeah.
they all, and they do editing and things like that and production work as well. So it's not like they just put down, the tool at the end of the day and changed their T-shirts into ghost hunting T-shirts and went out in the woods like we all do. Or went into a scary building like we all do. Because if you look at the field and you talk to people that work in this field, they normally have other jobs as well. Mm-hmm. Where this is not their primary vocation because, most people don't make enough money to be able to support themselves doing this endeavor. So a lot of people look at it as being a hobby. And a lot of those people look at it as being, okay, if you want to be serious and be taken to be serious, you shouldn't be making money out of this. If you're just making money out of this, then you're a sellout. And I kind of look at it a little bit differently. Okay, so if you look at Ghost Hunters as being a show, and you also look at Ghost Adventures as being a show, they both provide entertainment value. Mm-hmm. Going to these conventions and seeing the people that you've seen in shows, and this definitely goes into the cryptid world with like Finding Bigfoot, Mountain Bigfoot guys, and all these Bigfoot shows and Ancient Aliens and all that stuff, they all make money.
And UFO Highway, all those things. It is an entertainment that makes money. And from the perspective that they shouldn't be making money, if we took the word paranormal or Bigfoot or cryptid or UFO out of it, in the end, they are still filmmakers. They're still television producers. So are you saying that they are not supposed to be compensated for their time filming and editing and creating a show?
Yeah. I mean, if it is entertainment, shouldn't they be compensated?
Yeah.
Because it does take a lot of work and there's a lot of effort. There's a lot of cost involved. And most ghost hunting teams that go out these days and investigate, they don't really ask for money. Right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, most ghost hunting teams aren't on cable television and they aren't, doing any of that sort of thing. It's a different kind of world. And it wasn't until here recently that the Nesper team, I guess, anyway, they stopped charging for investigations. But, most teams would gladly accept a donation.
Yeah.
So they can cover maybe their gas, maybe buy, a Waffle House dinner afterward or something like that to compensate for their time. Whereas these guys are making a living at it. They're furthering the cause. They're putting the time, effort into it. They've got swag and merchandise. And any of these conferences or conventions that you go to, you're going to see people doing the same thing. Somebody writes a book, right? It costs money to make that book. It costs money to get that book produced and published or whatever it takes to make books happen.
I mean, just even before getting that book into somebody's hands costs the writer and publisher money.
Right. And if these people don't have the money to survive off that sort of thing, then they sell the book, you buy the book. That just is one more nickel in the piggy bank so they can keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So why would people get angry at people who have already succeeded at that and are making a living at that and are making that more popular?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it just seems that that's the way it is. That's like when people watch YouTube videos, a lot of times they're shocked that these guys that are making these YouTube videos get paid off of making YouTube videos. And then when they find out that these people get paid off of making YouTube videos, a lot of times they're shocked at how much money they make. And they're like, oh, well, you're not doing it because of the love of it.
Yeah.
I have never met anybody that says, I love being an office administrator. I would do it for free. Come on, man. People got to get it's an expensive time. Everything costs.
Yeah.
So when somebody says, hey, I wrote a book and I published that book, and if I'm interested in that book, I'm going to buy that book. You know what I mean?
There's a really
I'm going to buy that poster. I'm going to buy that book. I'm going to buy that T-shirt.
There's a really old joke from like the 80s, and it was like comedian was the only field where if you told somebody you were a comedian, people walk up to you and say, tell me a joke for free, basically.
Yeah.
You don't see somebody say, I'm a dentist, and somebody says, give me a root canal right here,
Yeah.
And granted, that was way back in the 80s. We've evolved, but now it's things like content creators, creative individuals, filmmakers, writers. It's like, especially in this particular genre or community, you're expected to just do it for free. Do it for the love of the hobby.
Yeah, I'm fat. I like to eat. And I have to be able to keep doing that. And I think really where the problem really is there's no distinction between somebody who does that to continue their love of the craft and they hope that, the information or even entertainment that they provide is enough for you to want to help them to continue versus the ones that are like, I'm doing this to make money straight up.
Yeah.
And I don't care that you are, happy and you enjoy it. I don't care about all that. I just need to keep making the money, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep making the money. I don't necessarily think that the ghost hunter crews just do it for the money.
Yeah. And I need to personally start giving them more credit with that because, they open the museum. The show has gone to more exotic and more interesting and more hard-to-reach places. But when Zak opened that museum, he was very passionate and very strict about his intention for that museum. And right down to, I think you were going to talk about it, like the chair.
Yeah, because he knows the Warrens. He actually bought one of their two most haunted objects. The first one is allegedly the doll.
Yeah.
Right, Annabelle. The second one is the Devil's Rocking Chair.
Yeah.
And the Devil's Rocking Chair, sadly, is more authentic of a haunted device or object or whatever you want to call it, artifact, than the doll.
In your opinion.
Well, yeah, right. But it's the only thing that's been sort of admitted in court in a case where demonic possession was their defense.
Wow.
And it was because of that chair. That's why they call it the Devil's Rocking Chair. He bought that chair for around $67,000.
Jeebus. And
he bought it before Lorraine passed away. Yeah. So he knows who they are. He put it in the museum. And here recently in that museum, since it's been causing issues or allegedly causing issues where people are passing out because of this thing, he's shut that part of the exhibit off.
And if you're that concerned with money, like each one of these parties is claiming the other is, you wouldn't destroy the opportunity to sell tickets during the busiest part of tourist season.
You would have that Devil's Rocking Chair printed right on the ticket of everyone that you sell.
Yeah.
Come see the Devil's Rocking Chair. You may just pass out or stroke out because of evil demonic, because that would bring in all the money, and he's shut it down.
Yeah.
He shut it down because he thinks it's unsafe. So whether he's authentic in what he's doing or fake or whatever you want to call it, why would he turn off his moneymaker?
Yeah. And that's where I need to give him more credit as an investigator.
He bought the Devil's House, right? This haunted house from Gary, Indiana, or whatever it was. He went in there. He made a documentary movie about it. He felt it was so dangerous, he had the entire thing demolished and then put into shipping containers, even the earth underneath it, and he has that locked away somewhere, hidden somewhere, so it couldn't be used in the wrong hands or possibly release the evil spirits that are in the house.
Yeah, and wasn't that when he started having those eye issues?
Yeah.
That's what messed me up.
He's done things like that if you think the dude is all about the money and doesn't know anything about the paranormal, why would he?
Yeah.
You know, you don't buy a house and then demolish the whole thing, then put it in containers and put it in a safe location.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time we seen that kind of thing done was like Raiders of the Lost Ark, in the movie where they put the Ark in this, box and shipped it away somewhere in a warehouse that could never be seen or be used again, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's some things when I read this sort of thing where it's kind of like, okay, I can't fault people for trying to make a little bit of money to further the cause. I can fault people that are in it only for the money. And when you sometimes kind of look at some of the people that are involved with the only in it for the money, they have a tendency to try to put that off on someone else.
And lash out.
Right. So sometimes they start slinging mud before it needs to be slung, so that in hopes that they get so saturated with mud, the other party that they're slinging at, that none of the mud will get on them.
But also, no press is bad press.
Yeah.
So
every crisis is a good crisis, right?
Yeah, So, I mean, you wag the dog hard enough, you're going to get attention, good and bad. So, yeah.
And even when you look at the comments that are posted on these Facebook pages and stuff like that, it's kind of split down the middle.
Yeah.
People love Tony for what he said, and then they blast these guys, the Ghost Adventures crew.
And then
you got people in the same thread that are like, hold on, Tony, you're doing exactly the same thing that they're doing. Why are you blasting them?
Like there's that one tweet, see, this is what I hate about Twitter. But it basically says your family should be ashamed of you.
Yeah.
And then money-grabbing control freak. And
oven mitts to handle a demonic object. And why would you put a demonic object that's super scary, take it out of its protective case, put it in a plastic suitcase? And why does that demon need a first-class seat next to it? Yeah. Like on the plane next to the... so it's kind of like you see some things that have happened here that kind of makes you think, okay, this person may not be as genuine, as they should be. But are they both disingenuous? Is that a word?
Disingenuous, yes.
Or is it one slinging the other? But I was surprised to see that the post came out, And I think at this point, a lot of what's going on is like, okay, so here we are. Here's kind of a thing that sort of sums up the entire thing, I think. It's a quote. Would you like to read the quote? It's at the bottom.
You read it.
Okay. You read the second quote. This is a quote from Jason Hawes from TAPS. Right? He was on the Ghost Hunter show. He is the exact opposite of Zak Bagans and the Ghost Adventures crew, correct?
Yeah, he is, because they're more...
scientific, authentic, whatever, right?
Yeah.
They take it more seriously and all stuff.
It's slower.
And here's the quote that he says, if you're claiming to be the real professionals in a field that scientifically can't even be proven to exist yet, then it shows your ignorance and how much your ego is out of control.
And that's Jason Hawes, the more methodical, slower paced ghost hunters, all about the, trying to debunk.
Right. And who does he say that in reference to?
He's saying it about
Tony Spira's quote.
Spira.
Our team at Nesper are the real professionals.
We provide the ultimate knowledge and power to fight evil, and that knowledge and power comes from God, like in his original statement.
So realistically, is this whole thing, is this just the case of the pot calling the kettle a demon?
You've been holding on to that all episode.
I thought it was clever because it's kind of like, who do you side with here? Do you side with Tony, who's obviously in it to make the money, in my opinion? Or do you side with Zach, who is also in it to make the money and has made the money? Which one is right out of these two things?
And see, I don't want to disparage on either one of them because you do have to acknowledge the history for both of them in different ways.
Right.
I mean, Tony, yes, he is a part of that paranormal legacy. He has that pedigree by family and by experience.
Does he, though?
To an extent, yes.
Okay, I think he is just as credible as Zak Bagans is credible.
I agree. And see, that's where I agree.
Now, are they even credible at all?
As Jason
Where do you
Hawes said.
Right, exactly my point. Where do you get the credibility from?
Yeah.
You're getting credibility from experts. What makes you an expert? Is there a test you can take to become a master paranormal investigator?
If you search on Google, there's a couple.
I'm sure there is, but who makes that test? And all of this is based on unfounded, unscientifically proven, basically ways of thinking,
Theory and conjecture.
theorems and all that stuff. There really is no test you can take to become a professional. So if you look at it from a different perspective, and the perspective is if other well-known industry-leading professionals in your field look at you and say that you are also a well-known industry-leading professional, then you should be able to call yourself a professional. Right? Like a photographer.
Yeah.
Just because you own the gear and can take a picture doesn't mean you're a professional photographer. I think when your peers look at you and say you're a professional photographer, you're more than likely a professional photographer.
Oh.
Just because you have a degree in photography does not make you a professional.
We've proven that.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to like, look at any job you've ever went for. You have a degree in computer science, but you've never worked in the field. Are you a professional? To the unwashed, the unknown, the people that don't really know, who don't do the job that are hiring you, they're using that piece of paper as some sort of guarantee that you at least have half a clue what you're talking about.
An initial benchmark.
Right. On the other side of that, you may have somebody that's worked in the computer field for 30 plus years. They've walked the walk, they've talked the talk, they've done the job. They don't have a piece of paper. So if you understood computers and you were in that field and you were hiring for that position, are you going to hire the new guy or the guy who's been doing it for 30 years?
30 years.
It's a tough call. And really what makes that determination, sadly, is the budget. If you don't have the budget for the 30-year professional, you hire the new guy.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this whole paranormal thing, if everybody is an expert, who's right, who's wrong with all this?
And if everybody's an expert, why is there so much beef?
Because when somebody gets ahead, then that's when the mudslinging starts.
But aren't we living in 2020 where we're all supposed to lift each other up and celebrate all of our triumphs?
It's 2020, evidently not.
I know.
And see, and that goes back to one of the things that we started when we started talking about and doing this podcast and talking about some of the subjects was that we don't understand why everybody can't just get along. Why can't the cryptid guy help out the UFO guy? Why can't the UFO guy and the cryptid guy help out the ghost guy? And I say guy not to be like chauvinistic. I'm just saying, why can't these people all work together to take their research, combine their research together, maybe come across some ability to prove what you're researching?
And not just...
But they don't.
Yeah.
They fight it out and they basically say, oh, wait a minute. You like ghosts and Bigfoot and you devote your time equally amongst the two. Well, then you're not really professional, because if you were, you would devote 30 years on one particular subject.
Okay.
And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. It's 2020. Everybody multitasks.
Not only does everybody multitask, but let's just say paranormal was not just real, but commonly accepted, and it became a college class. You still got to take trig classes. You still got to take, European history. Like if it were college, college doesn't just let you take only the anthropology classes, only the journalism classes. They make you take all the classes too. So you have to be well-rounded.
But you also run into the people who've been doing it for a long time who think that if you're a new person in the field or whatever it is, whatever course of study or whatever you've graduated in, whatever your degree is in, that you're supposed to bend the knee to them because they've been there, done that. They're the wise and old sage, and you should be. And a lot of people don't want to do that, and they won't.
Well,
There's a lack of respect there, and that lack of respect goes both ways.
Yeah, and that's my thing. I will always approach a professional or well-known person with respect. However, if you do not respect me or you clearly just start off in a disrespectful tone, I'm going to pull back.
It's not even disrespectful.
Yeah.
Because number one, you have to earn respect.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't even be disrespectful. If you are dismissive,
Yeah.
if I've done this job forever and you come to me, the person who hasn't, and you're looking for me to help you, to impart some of my wisdom because I'm older and wiser, and I just dismiss you and the work that you're trying to do without even giving interest to it and just make it an entirely dismissive thing, that's what people think is a lack of respect. That you're being disrespectful to me because you just basically dismissed me. And that's a big problem.
Yeah.
Because if you are wise in your field and you genuinely think that you have enough knowledge, capabilities, skills, and life experience to have an impact on someone, to cultivate them to go into your particular field and do it the right way, if you really care and you really want to do things the right way, then you won't just dismiss offhand. Somebody walks up and says, hey, man, I've liked UFOs and Bigfoots my entire life, and I think they're related. Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, sit on down here, little Johnny, and tell me all about what you think. You know what I mean? And then you may be able to provide some information of why your idea is stupid or not stupid or worth pursuing.
Your goal is to help the community grow
and that's
flourish.
not happening. There's a lot of people in this industry that won't do that because sometimes they're like, that kid's got a great idea. I never thought of that way because I've been doing this forever and I'm not open to new ideas, so I'm going to dismiss it, but then later on I'll pick it up. So it's a thing. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I think this whole thing is calling the kettle a demon, but I do think that Zak Bagans is actually right on this.
Yeah.
I think that these guys, they did their due diligence. They paid the money. The doll was there. The guy didn't show up on his own out of the kindness of his heart. Got 2 first-class tickets. Showed up. I think that, dude thought that they were being disrespectful to him. And how dare you disrespect the doll? When on the other side of that, I think that Tony Spira looked at those guys as being just a bunch of knuckleheads and how, that they should be basically really respectful to him because he has an authentic object when he fails to realize that these guys have been doing this for a long time and they're basically every bit as important in their own way as he is and that doll is. So I think it was sort of a little bit of mutual disrespect there. And I kind of think that the way it was portrayed and the events that really happened, which we'll never really actually know, I think the Ghost Adventures crew are there to make that product, that show, do the investigation, and they're busy. They got to go.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe Mr. Spear felt kind of slighted by that whole thing. Because maybe they didn't make him feel as important or that object as important as he thought it should be when he was doing that to them as well.
Yeah. So somebody has to be the bigger man out of all this.
Do they, though?
I don't know.
I don't think that's going to happen here, and I don't think it has to happen.
Oh, okay.
Because people have their own ideas, and it kind of goes back and forth. And I think the fact that Zak actually reached out and kind of said, let me say what's up, kind of speaks volumes. And especially since he alludes to the fact that, hey, you didn't respect us to begin with. You didn't, you automatically came into this with an attitude, even though he took evidently a large sum of money to do this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that he kind of put out some of those details, I don't think Tony Spira was expecting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was.
I think there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, I can see it, because there are some people that know Tony that may not have a positive experience because of it.
And having been a paranormal podcast for X amount of time, and also being on the vendor and a conference circuit, that little disclosure right there was a little man behind the green curtain for me as well. The more we started to do these, like, oh, so they get paid. Oh, they have this and stuff,
Yeah, and you know what? Hey, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times, to go back and kind of what Hawes said was really sort of telling, it's getting egos in check.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're trying to work in a field that's not proven. You can't prove none of this, man. So why are you getting mad? In the grand scheme of things, it's like, oh, which one is more? You're getting mad at me because my spooky is not as spooky as your spooky, and you're not giving my spooky respect. And it goes round and round. At the end of the day, looking into it, it's like, prove it. Prove any of it. You really can't. Because if you could prove it, it would have been proven already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically the pot calling the kettle a demon. It's like, whatever. But I do think that, sadly enough, that Ghost Adventures crew is not taking seriously, even though they are obviously taking themselves seriously. And I think that the amount of influence that they have in this field and have put into the field is not credited as much as it should be.
Agreed.
Because there is a bunch of people in this field that you will never hear of, you will never know, you will never see their work. But you'll see Zak Bagans in his hotel, and you'll go pay that $25 a ticket or whatever and walk around and look at stuff.
Museum.
Whatever it is. What did I say, hotel?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I meant museum.
But that would be a great idea, Zach.
Well, he's done things. He's bought the Sharon Tate house. He's bought, so he's trying to further along what he's doing. He's making the dudes, hey, man, don't hate the player. And if the show is exciting and entertaining to you, great, watch it. If you think that that's who you want to pattern yourself after for ghost hunting and ghost adventuring and investigating, I don't know if I would do that. The best I would say is take the good from different styles of investigation and that sort of thing and make the best product. And if you're in this field and you're an expert and you've been doing it for 30, 40 years or whatever, when somebody new shows up, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and wants to contribute and be a part of that field, and you blast them or just dismiss them, you're wrong.
And they'll remember
completely wrong. And I am somebody who was an instructor. I taught people from basically 8 to 80, right? Mm-hmm. In multiple fields. Did it in the military, did it, and you can see it. When you dismiss somebody and you crush them, you turn that light bulb off, you turn the brightness off, and you'll never get it back. And if you do stuff like that to a kid or somebody who's trying to do it, I think you're going to go to hell. And you probably deserve to. Anyway,
awful.
It's true though. You can, it's a thing, man. It's shameful. But okay. Speaking of shameful, let's move into what we're going to talk about next. And it's not really a shameful thing, but it is shameful in a way that COVID-19 has affected conferences and conventions and places where you can go see your TV heroes, your research heroes,
personalities,
your writing heroes. Yeah. People that you might like to want to meet someday and talk to them,
Yes.
In this paranormal field, this 14 thing, this supernatural field that we all like, where there be ghosts, UFOs, cryptids.
Celebrities and notable figures.
Sure.
That's what you call them.
And we went recently and did the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference in Tennessee, in Gatlinburg.
Yeah.
And while we were there, and I was honestly surprised that the event was actually going to happen because of COVID-19, social distancing, wearing a mask, and the entire thing, this actually occurred.
And it was pretty touch and go there for a moment.
This event happened, and we do these events, and it was definitely touch and go.
Yeah.
We do these events as a way for people to hear about our podcast and have a chance to talk to people. But we're also not silly. We do have stuff to buy, like little stickers and knickknacks and stuff like that. And to be honest, we price our stuff stupid cheap to the point where it makes other people angry at the convention because their $18 sticker is not as cool as my $1 sticker.
Stop it.
It's true, though, because we noticed when we've done these events that there is a price point that should be there for the people that don't have the money but want to have the time to be able to go and see things.
Yeah.
And I don't mind giving kids stickers. I like it. They come up and they're just, ooh, you can see it in their eyes. They like Bigfoot and UFOs and all that stuff. They don't really know what the hell's going on, but they like it. They're like, ooh. And I'll give a kid a sticker with a heartbeat. And it's funny because I have given kids stickers, watch their dad pick up the same sticker, and I'm like, for you, that's $1. You're paying, dude. He's free. She's free. For you, it's $5. And I had one guy get super mad about it. And so I gave her something else. And said, now for you, it's $10. Because I like the kids are great. When the kids are behaved, and they just, you could see it, just one little something, I reward them.
Oh, remember that one kid who had ice cream and just ran up and started grabbing stuff?
Just sticky. Yeah, you know what? Everyone he's slimed up with his ice cream fingers, I just gave them to him. But, we like to do that because a lot of times we have people that walk straight up to us and say, I got to tell you this story. And we're like, cool. But we also have people who walk right up to us and go, what are you guys? And there's a big ass sign behind us that says
CreepGeeks Podcast.
It says Paranormal and Weird News Podcast.
Yeah.
And then we say, yeah, you can find us anywhere you listen to a podcast. And sadly, 2020, some people still say, what's a podcast? And I just look at them. Mm-hmm. and say it's internet radio, bro. That's about the easiest way I can describe it. You know, when you're like 28 years old or something like that, or maybe like under 30 and you don't know what a podcast is. Anyway, so we went to the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference.
Yeah.
And we set up. And we've done every one of these so far, which have been 2. There's been 2 Bigfoot conferences. Don't correct me by saying the other one. The other one was technically not a Bigfoot conference.
Yeah. It was creatures and legends and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So we've done all the ones that they put on in Gatlinburg.
We love them.
Yeah. We got set up and we set our little table up. I didn't set up like some of the podcasting equipment that we have to be able to record stories because they have signs that say no videotaping, no recording. Not every conference has that, but you can tell with some of the conferences that if they have special guests there and the special guests are part of a company that promotes them or whatever, they probably don't want the intellectual property of that said special guest to be broadcast out in the world.
Yeah.
They want to control it.
And some special guests actually have a contract clause.
Yeah, so, where they can't just walk up and do you an interview for your, 5-person download podcast. Because if you're just giving it away for free, somebody who's like maybe Coast to Coast AM, which is a huge radio show, maybe they want you on the show, but they're probably, so it's a thing. And I get it. I understand how valuable these people can be in this particular field. Now, while we're there, we met some of these famous people. Excuse me. And we met some of them. We know some of them because we have a tendency to talk to the people that are there.
Yeah.
We did 22 events last year. Right. This year we've done 1 because of COVID-19, but it was funny to see the impact. Well, it's not funny, but it was kind of strange to see the impact a pandemic had on our experience. Everybody was spread way far apart.
Yeah.
So we had our little table, and then like 10 feet away was another table. So everybody was all spread out, and people were showing up in like little groups of 2 and 3 instead of having like, a throng of people walking around and all that stuff. So it was really hard to determine how many people were actually there. Like how busy was it? Because people were like, is it busy? I'm like, I don't really know.
Well, there were moments like, there was a moment where you were not at the table, and I had a group of 3 people at the table. And then at the other end of the table, I had a group of 2 people, and behind them, approximately 7 feet away, was a group of 3 people waiting to come look at the table.
That's not stressful at all.
No, not at all.
Now, I should say that while I was gone, I was probably out taking a nap somewhere.
That's not true. What were you doing?
I don't know. I think I was being interviewed or something.
Yes, he was getting interviewed. We can't wait to hear that interview and see it possibly on the social medias.
Yeah. So having the groups of people show up like that was definitely strange. Everybody was wearing a mask that was supposed to be wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. The smart people were wearing face shields.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's brilliant, because I'll be honest, I don't like having it on my face the whole time because you just breathe in your own breath. Then you forget and dump coffee. It's just a thing, right? The face mask thing, the face shield thing, I thought was pretty clever. It's like, ooh, I bet that's not sweaty at all, right? So we had people show up and they talked to us about some of their experiences. We had five different people show up and say, we listened to your podcast. We've seen you in multiple events. Hey, man, how you doing? I got something new to share. I'm so glad you're here. I meant to buy this from you last time, but didn't, and then went ahead and bought a whole bunch of stuff.
The newlywed couple came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
And we didn't sell it. We just gave stuff. Hey, I remember you, man. It's like, we just... So
we
had familiars.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's right, it was. Happy anniversary. Yeah, it was a year later. Happy anniversary. I call him a jackalope guy. He was a jackalope guy. No?
Alan is.
Well, who was this guy? Then who did I think this person was?
They were the ones that did Creatures Let... So,
oh, okay.
Yeah. So
anyway, we had people show up that we were familiar with, and we hooked them up because it was their anniversary. We had people come up and expand on things that they had told us last time, but still did not want to share.
Yeah, y'all need to... We're good. We want to hear your story.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to hear their story on the internet.
Okay.
So that's why they didn't share. Some of our friends showed up and helped us pack out at the end of the day, which was super cool. Very, very nice.
Thank you.
We've seen about 30 elk on the way home. It was overall, aside from being super hot outside, it was a really good experience. Now, you got a chance to sit down and talk to Mr. Lyle Blackburn.
Yep.
You want to say anything, or you just want to... Yep, it was great.
It was really cool because I did ask him a lot about more more about the writing than some of the narrative and production stuff he's done with Small Town Monsters. Gave me some good writing tips and advice, and was kind of just as interested as we are on the overall impact COVID has had on the events.
Yeah, because the festival he does, which is the Fouke County, what is it called?
Folk Monster Festival.
Explain how it
Fouke.
Used to be.
Yeah.
I think it's Fouke, actually.
So it used to take over the entire town or the entire county. So Fouke. I cannot say it. I'm sorry. I'm not from Texarkana. But it took over the whole little area. I mean, it involved him doing like a premiere,
like a movie premiere,
like a screening of
Legend of Boggy Creek and all that,
with like a question and answer after it. He would do a walking tour, a haunted tour. The whole town very engaged. I mean, all sorts of stuff. It was a really big thing, and I believe it was like a 2-day thing. I want to say.
Yeah, it was involved. It was a well put on.
Yeah, it is very well put on, and it's very involved. The whole community truly gets together to put this whole event on just for their local folklore. And this year, they couldn't even put it on in Fouke. I can't say it. I am just not going to say that right, am I?
Nope.
Yeah, they couldn't even put it on in there. They had to put it on at like the Texarkana convention place.
Yeah.
And it was limited. It was only an all-day thing. So he was kind of really impacted by that because...
I mean, yeah, you used to be able to take like a tour and actually go to where the sightings occurred. You used to be able to go and take the walking tour and historic tour, like the ghost tour, and have him explain things and other people explain things and make it sort of a hands-on thing. So you had all these different things that you could do. But at the end of it, because of the pandemic and COVID-19 and stuff, it was just basically like a little event in a convention center, and that's all they had.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, we thought about going to until the conversation that you had with Mr. Lyle Blackburn about what the event had turned into because of COVID, and it's like at that point, I was kind of no longer interested.
Yeah.
Because Lyle Blackburn is a nice guy. I would love to sit in a pickup truck or whatever the bus was or whatever and hear him talk about, because this dude wrote the book. He's been doing the research. He's genuinely into it. He's done other stuff on TV where he's doing chupacabras and things like that. Yeah. So I would have liked to have seen that.
And plus, he's the voice of a lot of the Small Town Monsters narrative. So it's a good voice to listen to on like a walking tour.
Yeah. I mean, or have him there telling you stuff. I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. Because we were like, you know what? That's like 5 days away. Can we do it? Can we go out there and do it? And then, after conversation was like, it's not the same. I
mean, luckily they still had some of the people, because Ken Gearhart was there. So,
right.
Yeah. So, and Jerry, he stand, and then,
there was a couple other people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, he was really impacted by that. Started to talk to him more about writing, appreciate it. Luckily, he sold out of all his books and all his DVDs at Smoky Mountain, so that was cool. I had to order his book on the website, which comes autographed, just to throw that out there. So, yeah. And then I did talk to the Ohio Night Stalkers.
Yeah.
Talked to them for just a little bit, paid $2 for their sticker.
Our sticker's better.
I gave them a free sticker.
Yeah. But, hey, the cool thing was...
Yeah.
And you should go back and Lyle has a little bit of a sense of humor, and we were able to get a really nice 8x10 picture of him.
Yeah.
And he did a very heartfelt inscription for you. That basically said something to the effect that
the Creep Geeks say I'm cooler than you.
Yeah, Seth Breedlove.
Seth Breedlove.
So our 8x10 basically says the Creep Geeks think I'm cooler than you, Seth Breedlove.
And then we sent that
to Seth Breedlove. Who, Small Town Monsters on. And he thought it was funny, which is cool. And then you met a very nice lady.
Yes, Ms. Amy Bew. So we actually have a mini interview I need to fit into something of ours soon of her, and it talks about her bucket list investigations.
Yeah.
She at one point was a member of BFRO. She has had a lot of Bigfoot research and investigations, but her new bucket list endeavor is really cool because she wants people to come with her and investigate and learn with her in all sorts of different locations. Because, one thing you've noticed, I've noticed about Bigfoot investigators is they kind of stick to one region and they develop as much experience as they can about that one particular region and the Bigfoot or Sasquatch that are in that area. She wants to experience it all. Anything from, the Bigfoot here in the Blue Ridge Mountains to the Bigfoot that are in the Southwest,
Yeah.
And she wants to do that with everybody. So definitely check her out. She's on Facebook, and I need to get done editing her little mini interview.
Nice.
Yeah. And I gave her a pin because she loves pins, and she has them in her hat. So, yeah.
Very nice.
And then what else? Oh, Bobo.
Yeah.
Did you see him at all?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't.
Okay, so Bobo, I seen Bobo not wandering around outside, but just kind of, he was outside, just kind of walking around, drinking a soda or something. I don't know if it was a soda or tea, I couldn't tell. Being followed by people that were possibly people that were there to make sure that he got places on time or was where he was supposed to be at a certain time.
Oh, okay.
But I think, and I've seen this a couple times actually, I think that Mr. Bobo can only take so much being locked down at that, little area there where he talks to people before he just needs to get away for a while.
Well, did you see they put his tent in a little corner of the event?
Yeah. Because he's like, the most famous kind of dude, I guess. And so he went, just in case there was large throngs of people, there'd be enough people there'd be enough space to get into it. But with the social distancing rules, it was just like little groups that would pop up.
Yeah, but
we went outside for that interview and he was just sat there, because one of the guys was like, yeah, I haven't seen Bobo yet. And he's like, there he is. Just cruising around, just walking outside. And it was hot as fire, too. He's outside just walking around. And then I went back out later on with Daniel, the friend who came and helped us out, along with Sheree. And he was like, yeah, I haven't seen Bobo yet. I'm like, there he is. And he was just doing it again. So he's just out there wandering. But I've seen it happen at CryptidCon and another couple places where he was there. Just kind of wanders around.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether he takes walks or just escapes for a while. I would like to think he just escapes and they go, oh, crap, where's Bobo?
And that's what I felt, because the way the event was set up, I kind of felt like he was kind of cornered in, so people just kept coming straight at him, even though they were in groups.
Yeah.
And if I were him, I'd be like, oh, my God, I'm cornered. I have to get out of here. I need a break. And rightly so. But I think one of those times that he was away from his tent or his little table, his sign went missing.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that somebody walked off with his sign.
Allegedly.
I mean, I don't know. It was there, then it was gone.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they took it down because he was still there. It wasn't like it was the end of the day and they were like, okay.
And people were looking for the sign, so we kind of think it went missing. So.
Yeah, so somebody probably, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
All that stuff costs money, and just to have your stuff just sort of,
I mean, we were lucky because we went to Western Pennsylvania Conference of the Unexplained, and when we were done with our event, very nice event, because we had, it was sectioned off real nice, they gave us our sign.
Yeah.
That was really sweet of them. So,
yeah, if we were smart, we would have hung it up, but we didn't, because we're not smart. But yeah, there was about 1,600 people there, I think, at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Conference overall.
Yeah.
And the guests were pretty good because you had like James Bobo Fay was there, who were talking about Lyle Blackburn, Amy Bew, Adam Davies was there, Ken Gearhart was there, and the Ohio Night Stalkers.
Yeah, and I got a picture of the Black Hat crew. So
that's what we're calling them.
Yeah.
So far, the Black Hat crew contains Lyle Blackburn, Ken Gearhart. We're going to throw Adam in there. We're also going to throw Shannon LeGros in there, even though she wears a white hat, and the one you wouldn't suspect to be in there, Seth Breedlove. Because I've seen him rocking that black leather jacket. Like, he doesn't want to wear a hat necessarily.
Oh, but he said on Instagram he wears a trucker hat. He wears a Small Town Monsters trucker hat.
Which is not as cool as Lyle Blackburn's hat. So I think he's just going to rock the jacket. But anyway, it was a good time. So the point of all that was to let you know that if you do go to one of these conferences and they do have things set up in place to protect you with wearing the mask rule, which they put in place for inside, you will wear a mask, and the social distancing and the spacing, that sort of thing, you can still have a good time. You can still meet the people. and it can still be worth the experience and the money you paid to get in the door.
It was. I mean, I actually liked it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it was good. And we were there from like 9 to 7.
Now, if you guys know of any paranormal events or conferences that you want to see us at, you should let us know. Contact at CreepGeeks.com or hit us up on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because now that we've got one conference under our belt for 2020, I already have the conference bug. I want to do more of them.
Yes.
So, yeah. Hit us up if you know of any.
That are actually going to happen.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Now, it's not like we don't know what events happen, because we do, but, so far, like 85% of them have been canceled.
Oh, Greg was organized enough earlier this year to create a very nice spreadsheet. And right now, our spreadsheet looks like a bunch of green lines with a bunch of red lines through it, meaning cancel.
Yeah. Or rescheduled, cancel. But
yeah.
Anyway, it was overall, it was a good time. We enjoyed ourselves. It was fun. I mean, it was busy, but it didn't seem busy. It was a relatively safe experience. We left, seen some things like some elks.
Yeah.
Went to Waffle House because it was there. Overall, it was a decent experience. So, yeah. And at this point, I think we're going to take a second and get ready to wrap up the podcast.
Okay.
Now, we've been talking about things that we sell periodically, and that we do these things, and we do these events where we have things to kind of get our podcast out there. We also have things that we think to be interesting in the cryptid world, and the ghost world, UFO world, and people buy stuff. One of the things that I was surprised that went really quickly for us was that once people spied our Bigfoot coffee, they were on it.
Yeah.
And we have Bigfoot coffee, work with a master roaster. We came up with our own blend where we think smells good, tastes good, low acid coffee, super tasty. And we like it, and we sell it.
Yeah.
So we have a link, and if you go to our Facebook page, we have a link there somewhere. But we have a site where if you wanted to buy some coffee and try it out, you can certainly do that, and we will mail it to you and all that kind of stuff. So it's just something to think about. So if you can't attend one of these conferences or conventions, and you want to get you a little something from that world, try some of this coffee. It's super good. I'm not just saying it because I like it. I do like it. I will drink it all.
Yeah, if you guys don't buy it, he's going to start drinking it all because he likes it so much.
Yes. But it's just something to kind of look at there. And we've had people that have bought it and come back to us. Like one lady came up to me and said, man, you bought 2 big old bags, because she had bought it somewhere. I don't remember where I seen her at, and she was super excited to get it and pick it up.
That was the Georgia Bigfoot conference lady. She's the one who bought a bag and then bought a bag for, I guess, a relative, like her mom. Yeah,
because she came back and bought 2 more and mentioned something about buying them for family. So,
yeah.
So it's pretty good stuff. So if you'd like something like that, just let us know. If you can't find a link anywhere and you want to kind of pick some up, just drop us a line. We're on Facebook, and if you go to facebook.com and you search for CreepGeeks, you'll find us. Right? We have a pretty active page there. We share things like memes and fun stuff, primarily because, why not? We try to take a lighthearted approach to the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have it there. So if you really want to try it or whatever, you're looking for some kind of weird gift to give to somebody, just let us know. We'll hook you up.
Yeah.
So we can kind of do things like that. But for the most part, I think we're getting ready to wrap up the podcast.
Yeah. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Again, if you want to email us or contact us, that's going to be contact@creepgeeks.com. Hit us up on the social media. As Greg mentioned earlier, we are all over. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Insta, things like that. And join us. We have a great time. I do want to mention this podcast is supported by our Patreon supporters, Dave, Adam, James, Bobby, John, and John. If you want to support the podcast, you can. You can join us on Patreon through patreon.com/CreepGeeks. You can support us for as little as $1 or $2 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we share stuff that nobody else gets.
Yeah.
And, depending on your tier levels, you get gifts. So you may even get coffee for free.
And right now, there is an exclusive paranormal story video that they have access to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not good at selling ourselves.
I know, right? We can we can sell anything else, like coffee or other people.
No, we're just not good at it. Yeah. I mean, it's a thing. We have it because we figured a long time ago that to be able to go out and explore stuff and do that sort of investigating that we like to do in addition to doing the podcast, it would be nice to be able to, pay for gas and fill up our Albino Rhino, our super adventure camper investigation mobile, as we travel. And we're looking into events that's going to be coming up pretty soon. There is an event that may be happening in Pennsylvania that we might be going to. We might spend a week there. We don't know how that's going to go because, again, things are a little uncertain right now. Or we might have an adventure where we cruise across the country and investigate along the way.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because things are still relatively flexible because of uncertainty.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep doing the podcast. So anyway, if you've been tuning in and you've listened the entire time, we are very, very much appreciated. If you'd like to share the podcast, please do. If you want to share the podcast somewhere and tag the people we talked about in there, like Mr. Jason Hawes and all that, go for it, man. Do what you got to do. Whatever you want. But anyway, I'm done. So I'll see you later.
Yep.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.